Hey there, friends, and thanks for joining us on Weather Out West. Happy Thursday. We're almost to the weekend. I'm meteorologist Ashley Ruiz, and yes, this is Weather Out West, our hour-long show where we're going to walk you through what's happening weather-wise across the western United States. We have forecasts and the latest forecast from the Pacific Northwest to the Mountain West, California, and Arizona. But today we're going to start in Boise, Idaho, because there is a first alert weather day in place because there is the potential for wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour, quick downpours this afternoon and evening. Here's Tyson White with all of the details.
Hi there, I'm Tyson White from KTVB out here in Boise, and we are under first alert weather conditions throughout this afternoon here in the southern portion of the state. Thunderstorms are bubbling up across the southern portion of Idaho as well as into eastern Oregon. Some of those storms could be bubbling up at gusts up to about 50 miles per hour in some areas, some of that outflow winds, and then brief heavy rain is also expected with some of these storms, as well as some blowing dust in some areas. The other concern that we have is the fire danger with some of these storms. Some of that cloud to ground lightning could be sparking some of the very dry vegetation, the grasses and sagebrushes out in eastern Oregon as well as southern Idaho. That could be starting some new fire starts, and with the winds out there blowing those fires around, that could be really erratic behavior, hampering some of the crews from getting out there and starting and finishing and putting out some of those fires out there. So that's why we're kind of keeping an eye on the skies today. Satellite radar already showing some of those storms bubbling up out there in eastern Oregon. We saw earlier this morning some storms popping up between Pendleton and Oregon, some lightning out there too, so we're really kind of keeping a close eye on it. We've been seeing some lightning strikes along the southern border of Malheur County into northern Nevada as well. This will start churning. We'll start seeing this kind of widespread between the Magic Valley all the way into eastern Oregon up near Burns. So we'll start seeing some of those showers really getting widespread. Futurecast will start painting that picture for us here as we look into the future this afternoon. About 3:15, that's when we're going to start seeing some of those storms popping up just south of Twin Falls, also south of Boise in the Owyhee Mountains. And again, out there in eastern Oregon, some cells starting to pop up there. West Central Mountains, though, that's when we're going to see some of the heavier rain pockets out of this storm, as well as some of the lightning, thunder, and some of the hail and winds out of those storms too. We'll see a lot more measurable precipitation out of this. Eastern Oregon not out of the woods yet. Overnight hours, that continues to churn. Tomorrow we get a little bit of clearing throughout the early portion of the day, but then by early afternoon, 2:15-ish, that's when we're going to start seeing some of the thunderstorms start to fire up in the central mountains, up towards the Lewiston and the Palouse area as well throughout the areas. And then again, they'll start bubbling up again south of Twin Falls in the Owyhee Mountains out in eastern Oregon throughout later on tomorrow evening as well. So we're not out of the woods yet. Daytime highs for yesterday, we got close to triple digits out there again in Owyhee area out in Ontario, that is. Same thing for Mountain Home. That leftover heat kind of lingered throughout the morning today into Thursday, and it's going to kind of help convect some of those storms and kind of get that pressure in the atmosphere building, creating some of those stronger thunderstorms out there. Around the valley, though, around the state, that is, so far today, things are looking really nice here in the Boise area. We saw warm temperatures up near 77 this morning. Twin Falls was out in the mid-60s. Kind of gloomy looking over there at Lake Payette this morning. Kind of partly cloudy skies. We'll see that continue through the day today as those storms build up. Sun Valley looking really nice out there as always this time of day. Then taking a look at your Treasure Valley day planner for the day, up to about 84 degrees by the noon hour. Then this afternoon, about 4 o'clock, that's when we're going to have to start keeping our eyes on the skies to the south, watching those thunderstorms and whether they come in, any impacts to activities this afternoon. Idaho's Chief Meteorologist Rachel Garceau will be keeping an eye on things throughout the afternoon. Magic Valley, that's where we could see that chance of thunderstorms again this afternoon to the western edge of the Magic Valley, like Jerome and the Gooding areas as well. Chances right around 4 o'clock, those temperatures will kind of keep keeping those things heated up out there. For the Magic Valley, things looking pretty decent out here. Jerome, 87 degrees, Gooding up to 90 degrees. That spotty shower or thunder shower to the western edge, not out of the question. Central Mountain locations also seeing that for Sun Valley and Stanley out there, mid-80s for those locations. Long Valley looking pretty decent throughout the early portion of the day. However, scattered showers, thunderstorms possible throughout the afternoon and early evening hours. Riggins getting to be the warm spot out there. 99 degrees is what's expected. Western edge of the Treasure Valley looking pretty warm here too. Scattered showers, thunderstorms possible throughout the evening hours out there. And then your 7-day forecast showing that chance of first alert weather conditions tonight. So stick with KTVB, watch our forecast. We'll be following that throughout the afternoon with Rachel Garceau and Audrey Altackett. And then things start to calm down a little bit. We do have that chance of showers and scattered thunderstorms all the way through Sunday and Monday, but daytime highs into early next week, really below average, 84 degrees out there. Nice conditions. Stick with us, your latest news and weather on KTV.com.
Now it's time to head to Spokane, Washington, where it's going to be hot there, no surprise, with the chance for a couple of more showers. Thomas Patrick has those details on more on a red flag warning in effect for portions of Washington.
I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick in Spokane, Washington, and we're going to have one more hot day to finish out the month of July. And like yesterday, we're going to add a few more showers and storms into the mix. The more heat we get, the more likely it energizes the air and gives us a chance for those showers and storms. Actually, it was Coeur d'Alene, as you see behind me, that got the first of some showers and storms already as of this morning. Now, skies have turned blue since a 6 a.m. thunderstorm here, but I have a few pictures to share with you. You will love to see those. But another batch of thunderstorms to cap off this very hot stretch of weather, which is typical to see for the end of July. This is usually our hottest week of the year. Certainly have noticed that and followed that in suit for this week. We'll be at around 96 degrees today in Spokane. Yesterday was 97, which did match our hottest day of the year so far, but even that's just 10 degrees above average for at least this time of year. You'll notice that the heat does release heading into this weekend. There's that number 87 that would match the average high temperature for early August as well. So an average weekend ahead, just one more hot day to get through and likely another batch of some thunderstorms in the heat of the day. So we'll be watching that fire up throughout the day. A chance at 100 degrees around Grand Coulee, same for like Omak, Moses Lake, the Tri-Cities. The normal hot spots across central Washington will be likely there or thereabouts for this afternoon. As I mentioned, we got up to 97 yesterday to match our hottest day of the year. So a pair of these July days did get up to 97 degrees so far, but nothing that has been really that interested in 100. We'll see if August is able to crack that mark in some future weather patterns, but for now, we are focused in on just today's heat and thunderstorm chances. The latest on satellite and radar as of 9 a.m. still pushing some moisture in from Oregon into southern and central Washington. It'll be the Cascades that get the most thunderstorms today for sure, but even other areas of not just the mountains, but even eastern Washington or North Idaho will certainly have a fair chance to get some thunderstorms today. And I had mentioned a 6 a.m. thunderstorm that went over Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. This viewed from Washington towards Micah Peak, right there in the distance, and it looks like the storm was directly over the mountain at the time. A few minutes later, a few mammatus clouds coming off of the base of that heightened anvil cloud of the thunderstorm. So a decent amount of energy with just a single thunderstorm that went directly over North Idaho so far today. More of that to come during the afternoon. Red flag warnings for northern Washington and portions of the Cascades due to an elevated fire risk. This is what we would call dry lightning. Not that the lightning itself is dry, but the thunderstorms are not producing as much rain as we would like to see, making that a bit more hazardous than what it would otherwise be, as lightning can oftentimes spark new wildfires. So that is something we will be cautious for during the daytime and evening hours today, because those thunderstorm chances are a bit heightened this afternoon at about 40% for our northern areas, 30% for Spokane and most of eastern Washington. The computer modeling might not get it perfectly accurate in terms of positioning, but it definitely has the idea of a couple spotty showers or storms as it's trying to fire up during the afternoon. So that's the idea. And we'll just have to use Doppler radar basically minute by minute to really pinpoint exactly where those storms will fire up, because it can be very dynamic, almost very random at times. That action does continue through Friday afternoon. So the next 2 days have a decent chance for rain or thunderstorms of the scattered variety, but the heat breaks as we'll drop from the 90s today into the mid 80s for this first August weekend.
Looks good for the weekend. Thanks, Thomas. So coming up after the break, we're heading to Denver, Colorado and Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome back to Weather Out West. I'm Ashley Ruiz on this Thursday. Let's go to Denver, Colorado, where Kathy Sabin is tracking a severe thunderstorm threat, and Chris Bianchi has more about the big Thompson Canyon flood, which occurred 49 years ago today.
Hello from Denver, Colorado. I'm 9 News Weather Impact Team meteorologist Kathy Sabin, and we've had an interesting week of weather. More clouds than sun after triple-digit highs or near triple-digit highs for about 3 or 4 days in a row. The middle part of the week, that cloud cover helped to keep temperatures below average in the 70s yesterday and the day before. And we've had a lot of moisture feeding into Colorado from the southwest. Colliding and combining forces with a series of cold fronts from the north, we've been tracking severe weather, and we've also been tracking the flood threat because the steering winds aloft are weak and slow, so storms aren't moving very quickly. So today, in terms of severe weather, and the primary threat would be thunderstorm wind gusts over 58 to 60 miles per hour and a hail threat. We're a level 1 out of 5 for today. Very similar to yesterday, although today's just a smidge warmer, a little bit drier, but with a little bit of sunshine, we also may destabilize the atmosphere a little bit quicker. So we're going to start with some sunshine and watch the clouds build. By about 1 o'clock in the foothills, we'll start to get those storms bubbling up, crossing the I-25 corridor between 3 and 5, and then really taking off out on the eastern plains. And that's where we think we could see severe storms and heavy flooding rain east of Akron and Lyman. We've also been dealing with poor air quality as wildfire smoke from Arizona and Utah is being funneled into Colorado. So the air quality not super great again today, which we're so used to seeing the beautiful Colorado blue. Today we'll start in the 60s and warm to the low 80s. The average high is about 90. It's going to take us a day or two to get to that seasonal high. Low 80s today, mid 80s tomorrow, drier weather heading into the weekend, close to 90 Saturday, and then the summer heat returns for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday of next week.
Today marks a very somber anniversary or mark here in Colorado weather history. 49 years ago today, the deadliest natural disaster in the state of Colorado took place, deadliest natural disaster in the last 100 years took place in the Big Thompson Canyon. This was the 1976 Big Thompson Canyon flood, and what happened here, a true disaster. 144 people lost their lives, and we spoke about this earlier this month in reference to the Texas floods. As a reminder that what happened in Texas is something that has and unfortunately can happen right here in Colorado. But here's a look at some of the devastating images from the Big Thompson flood there. And yes, we did see, unfortunately here, just some truly devastating sights. And this was from a 30-foot wall of water. And what took place here was, unfortunately, 12 to 14 inches of rain fell, and that led to just catastrophic results. Here's another look at what we saw there. The Big Thompson flood of 1976, houses washed away. And this was the result of about 12 to 14 inches of rain falling in about 6 hours or less. And so unfortunately, 144 people lost their lives. Also about $250 million in modern day dollars worth of damage from this. And a lot of people were out celebrating. About 3,000 people were out celebrating the 100-year anniversary of the founding of the state of Colorado. Of course, Colorado, August the 1st, 1876. So there were extra people in the canyon celebrating, and that meant, unfortunately, there were more people than usual camping. 12 to 14 inches of rain, 30-foot wave, and the result, sheer devastation. On the positive side, though, it did lead to a notable improvement, not only in Colorado, but nationwide, an improvement in flood alerts across the country.
Chris Bianchi and Kathy Sabin from Denver, Colorado. Thanks so much. Next stop on our Weather Out West tour, Phoenix, Arizona, where Crystal Long has the details on extreme heat alerts in effect for Friday and Saturday.
Hey there, I'm meteorologist Crystal Long in Phoenix. Happy Friday Eve to you. Happy final day of July. And I gotta tell you what, we are set to sizzle to start August. We have an extreme heat warning that is jumping out for you Friday and Saturday. Now, when you see an extreme heat warning go up in Phoenix, I mean, we have a reputation for being hot in summer, right? But this is next level, and that's what's triggering this alert. We're gonna have dangerous heat on Friday and Saturday with temperatures soaring beyond 110 and in the realm of records. So this marks our 4th extreme heat warning of the year so far, which total up 15 days in all. We're getting really close to our average quota, and we're not done with summer yet. The record, though, belongs to 2020 with 12 warnings and 49 days under those warnings. Today, we're not tagged with a warning, but look at how much we're overachieving already. We've got an extra 5 degrees on the thermostat in Phoenix, Gila Bend, Prescott above those typical summer standards, an extra 2 in Flagstaff, an extra 7 in Payson, and 4 in Globe. It all works out to 111 in Phoenix. That's a popular number. It's also going for Gila Bend and Parker. We've got really close to that century mark in Kingman. Plus, we got some gusty winds there, so it's going to feel like a hairdryer. Yuck. 97 in Sedona, 96 in Winslow. You even think you can escape those above average temperatures in the Pines, but we're also above average at 84 in Flagstaff. Here we go. Friday and Saturday, the days that are a real doozy. As the mercury shoots up near records, we'll be a few degrees off on Friday, but Saturday, 114 would knock out that 2011 record. We drop out of record territory on Sunday, but come on, 112 is still burning hot. Well, it's all because monsoon's kind of a no-show for us. We're having high pressure in the wrong spot. It's going to be right on top of us. That is what's hiking up the heat instead of over the Four Corners where it draws in that monsoon moisture and gives our state a shot for showers. Today, the chance for monsoon showers and storms staying exclusively here in far eastern Arizona. Now, there is a slight chance that something kind of slips away and sneaks in near the valley in northern Arizona. It would be an exception, not the norm. And for the valley, it's most likely just going to be blowing dust. We could see a rogue raindrop nearby. It's just something to watch. But all of the storm commotion is really going to be hanging out in far eastern Arizona with the lightning, the gusty winds, the blowing dust, and the brief rainfall. Let me show you where we're going to set off these showers and storms on your future radar. See what I'm talking about here? Where we could have a couple of pieces of spunk here that allow for some showers to spark off to the west, but most of that activity is going to stay to the east. Looking ahead to your Friday, once again, the eastern stretch of the state is going to be the favored spot to see another flare-up of monsoon showers and storms before we pull the monsoon plug for the weekend and we have nothing but dry air on deck. This is where we think we're going to see the rain spill into our rain gauges. Not going to add up to a whole lot. And again, it's in far southeastern Arizona. Barely anything to measure for us. But even if you don't get the rain, you're going to feel it. We have dew points in the 50s for the valley, so it's going to have that sticky factor on top of how hot it is. So you're definitely going to be sweating out there, but then much drier for the weekend. Flagstaff, you just have that off chance to see a stray shower or storm the next couple of days. Then we'll bring back some monsoon storm chances in the middle of next week. For the valley, it really is all eyes on the thermometer. Saturday, the standout at a record 114.
Thanks so much, Crystal. Coming up in a few minutes, it's time to head up to the Pacific Northwest with Rod Hill and Rich Marriott. A very happy Thursday to you. Welcome back to Weather Out West. First up on our tour in the PNW, we're headed to Portland, Oregon. Rod Hill has the details on the red flag warning in effect for portions of Oregon.
For Portland anyway, a really nice Thursday underway. Fairly comfortable temperatures, partly cloudy skies expected. I'm meteorologist Rod Hill from the beautiful Rose City. Our weather pattern is just on repeat. Going all the way back to Monday, we've seen these continued cycles of scattered shower and thunderstorm activity coming up out of Nevada and California and then pushing up to the north across mainly central and eastern portions of our state. All of that leads to higher fire danger because of concerns of new fire starts from lightning. And that's what you're seeing here is our red flag warning for fire danger, including Bend, Burns, and Baker City. But the good news so far, knock on wood, is that these lightning strikes have more than not come with heavy downpours. So that, of course, wipes out the fire risk, right? So hopefully we see that again today. And when you look at our futurecast models, this is 3 o'clock this afternoon on this Thursday, where you see the bright colors. That's what the model is saying. Could be some lightning, but there's also big time heavy rainfall coming down. So we've got weakening storms early this morning. We've had some rain up in the Cascades as well. This is, again, the afternoon kind of rebirth of storms moving south to north up across the area. Then that wave kind of fizzles out, and then here's Friday. Here comes another wave. Now, Friday doesn't look to be as active as what we've seen the last couple of days, but there is a potential thunderstorm south of Bend, bending off of the Cascades into parts of maybe southern Oregon. Again, when you get south of Eugene in our state, it's still pretty mountainous. So these storms still kind of in the mountains as they move or hold perhaps north of Medford. And again, that's tomorrow coming up on Friday. It is another day with cloudiness to begin along our coast, and then we'll look for some partial clearing as the day progresses. Not much wind. We've had a really light wind week overall in all areas of our state. Here's our Chinook Winds Casino Resort camera in Lincoln City. Kind of foggy this morning as well. Partial clearing in mid-60s expected. Now this is interesting. I mentioned that we've had some rain up over the Cascades. This is one of our Timberline Lodge cameras looking from Mount Hood south. That's Mount Jefferson sticking up. And this is rain falling when you look off toward the what would be the east slopes of the Cascades. So that's verifying, not storminess this morning, but some rain up in that part of our state. You get into the Willamette Valley, and it's just been a nice, partly sunny, quiet morning. Our state capital from our Salem sky camera, and even more of a bright blue, but some cloudiness over downtown Portland on this Thursday, looking across the Willamette River. So our forecast numbers, I mean, here in the valley, pretty quiet, but the storms across central and eastern Oregon, and also some rain in our Columbia River Gorge already this morning. But Salem, 85. I mean, the rain chance is not zero, but generally a partly to even mostly sunny sky day expected with mid-80s, which, by the way, is right smack dab considered exactly normal for this time of the year on the final day of July. More cloudiness as you head north, perhaps holding temperatures down a little bit, but still partly sunny overall. Longview 77, and this shows it down into Vancouver, 82 degrees expected. Forecast map across our state at 6 p.m. We'll have active scattered areas of storms in central and eastern areas, and the clouds and the rain, of course, holding temperatures down. This shows only Pendleton getting up to 90, so mostly we're talking temperatures around 80 or just up into the 80s. We've got the 60s at the coast, as I mentioned, and then up and down I-5. Yesterday, Portland had more cloudiness from storm blow-off than I thought we would. It was only 84. And this shows if we get up to 80, which I think we will, it won't be much above that again today. So our 7-day forecast, really nice as August begins. 82 today, August 1st tomorrow, 83. The weekend, I've got 84 Saturday and 78 degrees on Sunday. At this point, comfortable temperatures expected into the mid part of next week.
After a choppy couple of days, it looks like the weather is going to be smooth sailing headed into Seafair weekend. Seattle's Rich Marriott has those details.
Hi, I'm meteorologist Rich Marriott here in Seattle at Pier 46 aboard the USS Somerset, which is here for Fleet Week, which is going to be giving tours of the boats starting today all the way through Sunday. So you come down and tour through the middle portion and the lower portions of the vessel, where right here they do launch amphibious vessels out into the water out of the back part of the ship, which would be a great thing to come down and see, and great weather to be doing it in fact, this weekend. Take a look outside. A lot more clouds around than what we had previously, but we are looking at those clouds to be thin enough to get quite a bit of sunshine through them. You see the Everett Tower cam, a little bit of sunshine, a hint of a few shadows in that shot, which is kind of nice. You can see there in Tacoma, we actually have some sunshine trying to break out as well, and it's going to be partly sunny, so that filtered sunshine is what we're looking at through the day today. And you can see in our first alert 7-day forecast, we do have sunshine through the weekend, mixed with a few clouds, but temperatures which were in the mid to upper 80s yesterday, cooling back a bit to the 70s and low 80s for the next few days, and then we cool a little bit more towards the end of the weekend. But overall, for all the seafair activities, it looks like it's going to be dry and with quite a bit of sunshine, especially in the afternoons, which is important with the Blue Angels and the Hydros coming up this weekend. Take a look at the satellite image. You can see we make out that big mass of clouds there to the south and east of Washington. That's that moisture we've been talking about all week that's moving up our way. It looks like it's going to be spawning showers and thunderstorms in the Cascades as we head towards later this afternoon. Still a slight chance that some of those might drift into the foothill areas of western Washington on into tomorrow morning, but doesn't look like that many of them are going to make it, and most places will be dry, but you might hear a roll of thunder if you're somewhere near the Cascades late today on into tomorrow morning. Taking a look at the smoke models, you can see that putting that into motion, that we are looking at quite a bit of smoke from those fires over there in Mason County. The good thing is it continues to lift pretty quickly. Only in the immediate vicinity of those fires are we seeing impacts on air quality, and once you move away from the fires, they're actually staying in good air quality, it looks like, through most of the week. You can see today, well, that went through very quickly, but trust me on that, was good air quality for both today and tomorrow, except for a couple of stations dropping into the moderate range. Checking out Hurricane Ridge, you can see a little bit of that smoke haze out there in the distance, but overall, a good looking day there, and good looking day there at Paradise, where a lot of people are enjoying that filtered sunshine today. We are going to be looking for good hiking conditions up in the mountains. You see temperatures at the pass levels getting into the low to mid 70s, but keep in mind there is a chance of some scattered showers and thunderstorms as we head towards later this afternoon and this evening. So definitely take your rain gear with you and be careful not to spend much time on ridge tops if you're hearing the rolls of thunders. Looking at our temperatures today, we are cooling back from what we had yesterday. We're looking mostly at temperatures in the mid 70s to low to mid 80s around western Washington starting off the day, and we'll cool not too much tomorrow, maybe a degree or two, and then as we head into Saturday, we're going to see more cooling take place, which still keep us in really good weather for all the seafair activities that are going to be going on. So specifically for today, partly sunny, filtered sunshine. We'll see that chance of a few showers near the Cascade foothills later this afternoon and this evening, and that risk could continue on into tomorrow morning. Highs both days in the 70s and low 80s. Saturday, morning clouds, afternoon sun, temperatures getting up close to 80 degrees once again. Morning clouds and sticking around a little bit later on Sunday, but still burning off in time for the hydro races and the performance of the Blue Angels on Sunday with highs in the mid 70s. Morning clouds and afternoon sun Monday. Tuesday might be a couple showers around, but just a couple, and then back to partly sunny Wednesday. Those high temperatures staying mostly in the mid 70s starting off next week. So it looks like a great seafair weekend. You want to get out and enjoy it, then don't forget the sunscreen.
Coming up after a quick break, we're headed to California. Hey there, friends. Happy Thursday. I'm Ashley Ruiz, and now we're taking you to Northern California to kickstart our tour of California. Monica Woods is tracking the potential for a couple of thunderstorms out in the high country.
I'm meteorologist Monica Woods. Northern and Central California regional headlines. Getting to that, coastal conditions, we're still looking at areas of morning fog, afternoon sunshine. For the valley, returning to near average temperatures. For the foothills, mostly sunny. Thunderstorms, though, still a potential in the Sierra. Dry lightning also a possibility, but this is starting to become far more confined to the northeast corner of California, right along the California-Oregon border, with the potential of lightning spark fires. But you can see the reach of the potential for thunderstorms into our Thursday still extends throughout much of the northern and central part of the Sierra, and again on Friday. Now, this isn't necessarily going to make it all the way in through the Central Valley, but we'll continue to monitor that. Looking at that Thursday rundown, the Futurecast model showing the erosion of that fog coming into play by the afternoon, but we start to see the appearance of those thunderstorms, and then we quiet things down overnight, only to restart again on Friday. We'll see some of that marine intrusion Friday morning, but overall, things are going to be much more quiet here for the valley than, say, for the Sierra. For Friday, we're starting to see those afternoon thunderstorms pop up once again near Shasta, California-Oregon border, and the northeast corner, which has kind of been the focus area for the past several days. Our cool summer continuing. Now, in terms of ranking these, we come in about 72nd ranking since back in 1878. So that's going to take into account June and most of July, kind of wrapping things up here for today. Ranking since 1990, though, coming in the top 10. So you can kind of start to see how climate change is impacting some of those warming conditions. We're not really seeing much on the cool side of things, but way back to 1878, saw a lot of cool summers. 30-day max temperature departure. This is showing the anomalies, and certainly a much cooler past 30 days than what we would normally see this time of year. Folks have been talking about it. We want a vacation here. We don't need to go anyplace to escape the heat. This is typically our hottest month of the year, but those average monthly highs will start to cool here heading into the next several months. And conversely, we're going to start to see the rain increase. This happens to be our driest month as well. This starts us off into almost the beginning of the next water year. Keep in mind, we're kind of wrapping things up with a new water year, kind of knocking on the door here. Water has been at its highest demand. We typically are dealing with the big heat, July, August, and September. At the end of September is when our water year will end for California. This last one really favoring Northern California with above normal precipitation for Redding and Eureka, whereas Central California fell behind the mark. That being said, this was the second year, even third year in the row, some folks had been getting above normal precipitation. So water managers have really been able to have more flexibility with that water storage. To date, our storage statewide, 109%. That puts us at 27.7 million acres feet stored heading into this next winter season and the rainy season as well. So things are looking pretty good right now throughout California. Let's get to those temperatures as we were wrapping up July, heading into August. Temperatures near 80 for the high country with that risk of thunderstorms, 80s and 90s throughout the foothills. Pretty much status quo here throughout central Sierra as well. We see those highs in the 70s and 80s up top, 90s for the interior valleys, getting awfully close to 100, which is fairly typical this time of year. And we certainly see that in Coalinga at 100. Towards the central coast, highs are in the 60s and 70s. And again, a little bit of drizzle because of the thick fog that we'll be seeing, but clearing during the afternoon. As we take it across the northwest coast, we see morning clouds, afternoon sunshine, that risk of thunderstorms there for the northeast corner and the capital region. Highs will be in the 90s heading into our Thursday outlook with our 10-day forecast showcasing some of the seasonable temperatures we'll have right on through the weekend. Bit of warming as we head into next week.
San Diego's Evan Noorani is tracking some warmer weather as we head into August.
Hi everyone, I'm meteorologist Evan Noorani in sunny San Diego. We're at least moving in the sunny direction here throughout the morning time frame, and by the noon hour should really be warming up. Live look outside, or at least live as of earlier this morning. We were seeing those clouds break apart steadily, moving in the direction of sunshine. Coronado, one of those spots where the sun was already peeking through as of about 9 a.m. And we've started to really see that marine layer have a lot less density to it. It's not stretching as far east as it typically does. And usually when those clouds are inundating the coast, inland valleys, even western slopes of the mountains, it tends to keep our early morning temperatures all the way through about midday in the cooler range. We typically see that in the month of June. That's why we call it June gloom here in San Diego. It's also why we tend to call July fry, because we see those clouds pull their way back a lot sooner in the day, and we see some dramatic warming. And that's what we've been seeing for July past, but not necessarily this year. This year in July, we've been way below where we'd like to be. Our temperatures have generally been in that 5 to 10 degree below normal range. And it's partially thanks to this layer of clouds out there. But I want to show you what things look like out by the coast, and then we'll take you inland, because coastal communities are still hugging clouds. Clouds are still right by the coast, and even inland in many cases. We're going to watch as this layer of clouds pulls its way back from the coast, but it's already done so across our inland valleys. For example, this is what we see from Mount Woodson. That coastal view was at about Mount Soledad, where sunshine is still another hour or two away. But inland, we see that sun already on full display. This is looking north from Mount Woodson around the Fallbrook area, Ramona, where things are wonderful. We're starting to see shorter days out there, though. 6:02 a.m. was that sunrise, no longer the 5 o'clock hour. Sunset coming at 7:47, not the 8 o'clock hour. Coastal conditions are going to generally yield some sunshine. There's about a 10% chance of some scattered mist, maybe a drizzle out there late tonight into early tomorrow, typical for that marine layer. Temperatures, though, in between should get to 72, maybe 73 degrees, still putting us a few degrees shy of average. But as this ridge of high pressure starts to expand and move in our direction, we'll see those temperatures warm gradually, and we'll start to move in the direction of not only average temperatures, but in some cases warmer than average temperatures. We already noticed that inland, where we have some 90s on display. Ramona 91, Campo 93. This is the summer heat that we would typically expect in the month of July. Problem on hand is that August is tomorrow, and it looks like now we'll round out July below average on those afternoon highs, but we will get into August starting to see that climb, making it to the maybe above average range out toward our mountains and deserts at the very least. Coastal temperatures are below average by just a hair, and same for your western valleys. But take a look at where we go in the coming days. Between now and the weekend, we start to head back toward average. Looks like we'll touch average and maybe even surpass it by Wednesday of next week. Second thing to notice here that's very poignant is the loss of the cloud cover out there. Clouds that hold on earlier on in the day through midday stop us from warming up to our full potential. So the first step is seeing those clouds clear out, and then we'll see that nice warm up. 77 by Wednesday of next week. Inland valleys see a pretty standard warming trend, taking us from the upper 80s to the low 90s Saturday and Sunday. 91 by Wednesday of next week. Also seeing more and more of that sunshine in the mix. The mountains and deserts are already on par with average. In fact, the deserts on average would be at 108. Today they're going for 109, 111 by Saturday and Sunday, and then 112 by Wednesday. So we could be 4, maybe 5 degrees warmer than average, not only across the deserts, but even our mountains by the time we get into the middle of next week. This is the time to start grabbing that wide brimmed hat and lather on plenty of the sunscreen.
Coming up after the break, it's time to talk all things heat, severe weather, and flooding. Not out west, but for our friends out east as well. While we have a mixed bag of weather out west, our friends in the south and southeast are still dealing with extreme heat. Also, portions of the mid-Atlantic are gearing up for heavy rain. Here's Julie Martin with more details.
Well, once again, another very hot and humid day in the east where those feels-like temperatures will be in the triple digits for another day. Some storms are also possible in the mid-Atlantic, and then we have a fire danger as we head into the Great Basin. Forecast highs for your Thursday look like this. Really hot all the way from Texas once again through the deep south up into the mid-Atlantic. Jacksonville, Florida, a hot spot at 97 degrees. We'll stay relatively cool compared to that as we head into the Pacific Northwest, where we've got 80s on the map for Seattle and Portland. Sacramento at 94, triple digits in Phoenix. Those feels like temperatures, we factor in the humidity, and we'll be waking up to mainly it feels like temperatures in the 80s here across the south, and then warming up once again to dangerously hot conditions for another day, feeling like 105 in Memphis, 105 in Dallas-Fort Worth, and 108 degrees in Jacksonville. So take it easy out there. We've got another day of it. The good news is a change in the pattern is going to bring some relief to us by the weekend. Those watches and warnings here in orange are the excessive heat advisories. Those do stretch all the way from the deep south and southern plains into Florida, and then back up even as far north as New England. Could see a little bit of flooding in and around Des Moines and northern Illinois, and then in pink here's that fire danger in the Great Basin where we have hot, dry, and windy conditions. The good news is our temperature outlook as we head into August looks slightly better, at least a little more normal in gray. Those are normal temperatures in places like DC down to Atlanta, and then we'll stay hot, but not as hot. And the western half of the country stays relatively cool. Now, as we get into August, as could be expected, more heat, more humidity, likely going to be heading our way as we're right there in the dog days of summer. Here's that severe weather threat. Not a great big one today. We do have a chance for those storms. As I mentioned, places like New York down to DC, Norfolk, you could get hit with a few thunderstorms later on today, and Denver, the other place where we have at least a marginal risk of some severe weather. And the flood threat looks about like this. We've got, again, Denver in play for maybe some flooding and portions of the Intermountain West. And then as we head through the Midwest, St. Louis, Indianapolis, up toward Cleveland, we'll have to dodge some showers and could see some heavy downpours there. All right, here's a look at your temperatures heading off to the west to start with. We'll see some rain in 60s in Seattle, warming up to 80 degrees, 90 in Sacramento, triple digits there in Phoenix. Denver topping out at 82. We'll see triple digits in Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, and Houston getting awfully close to that 100-degree mark. New Orleans at 94, Charlotte at 91, Tampa 94, and Atlanta hot at 91, though not as hot as we have been. And then here as we head into the Northeast from Minneapolis to Washington, D.C., we'll see anywhere from those high 70s to the 90s once we get into the Mid-Atlantic, with again those storms likely arriving later on.
Be sure to stick with us because after the break, our Christian Garza talks about the cherry season in eastern Washington and how it's going after a rough 2024 season and the latest drought monitor. After a tough season in 2024, cherry farmers in eastern Washington are celebrating their harvest this summer. Christian Garza talks with an orchard owner about the dramatic turnaround from last year.
This year, there's an abundance of cherries at Cherry Hill Orchard and Market, but the owners say this is actually a complete 180 compared to last year when there was literally no fruit on any of their trees.
In the middle of Green Bluff at the intersection of Dunn Road and Daymount Spokane Road lays a treasure trove of sign after sign for produce like cherries or homemade goods. All things Cherry Hill Orchard and Market's been providing for the community since 1998.
Cherries are such a happy fruit, so I always say we're the happiest place on Green Bluff, and this year it's definitely true.
Though Rhonda and Jeff Bosma, the owners of Cherry Hill, say last year they faced something that left a pit in their stomach.
I just felt misplaced.
An empty crop.
Since 1998, it's only the second time that we've ever not had a cherry crop.
A circumstance made possible by last year's fluctuating weather trends.
December was very warm up until about the 13th, 14th of January, and suddenly it got about 15 below, and we had some wind with that for a couple days too. So it froze the buds that were on the trees because they hadn't hardened off yet because it hadn't been real cold. Normally cherry trees can take that, but not when it's been real warm. So destroyed the buds, and so there was no bloom, not only no cherries, but no bloom at all.
Which Jeff says is fortunately not the situation the orchard's facing this year.
Yeah, like a good farmer, we got to complain about something. Now there's too many cherries, and as you can see, some of them are kind of little. There's a lot of them, but some of them are little. So,
as people of all ages return to Cherry Hill, the word of the season is abundance.
I'm beside myself with how abundant it is. I feel like, oh my God, we've got to get these picked because they're going to go bad.
Last year was less abundant than this year, but this year I'm kind of amazed how much cherries, the fruit abundantly in here.
With last year's bump in the road in the rear view, Rhonda and Jeff say they want to hit replay on this year's crop outcome.
Rinse and repeat, baby. Rinse and repeat.
Fingers crossed for next year as well, one of the best times of year. And every Thursday morning, we'll bring you the latest drought monitor, and we have the latest. So the U.S. Drought Monitor released its latest update just a few hours ago, and compared to last week's update, there's some improvements. Here's a look at the latest drought monitor. So improvements for portions of the Midwest, Plains, South, mainly in we have some improvements for portions of the Midwest, Plains, the South, mainly in Texas and in New Mexico. So the most significant rainfall actually fell over portions of Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, and Minnesota, and monsoonal storms brought some minor relief to portions of eastern New Mexico. Meanwhile, out west, not so much, unfortunately. Oregon, Idaho, and portions of Wyoming, Utah, Colorado continue to see worsening conditions. I know that's not what you want to hear. Now, in terms of reservoirs, the report states that California's Lake Shasta and Lake Oroville are running at or above historical averages. Now, the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation reports that Lake Powell is only 32% full, Lake Mead is 31% full, and the total Colorado system is at 39%. And unfortunately, in the Cascade Range of Oregon and Washington, stream flow continues to run well below normal. Now, looking ahead, the Weather Prediction Center's 7-day forecast calls for minor rain totals. You see with most of it from about Oregon into Idaho as well. But beyond that, it's not going to really help with the drought situation. But heading into August, the Climate Prediction Center's long-range forecast calls for the potential for above normal precipitation in the Pacific Northwest, portions of the Intermountain West, not not so much beyond that. So we'll have to watch out carefully. Hopefully we get at least some relief from the drought. So that does it for us here on Weather Out West. I'm meteorologist Ashley Ruiz. Thank you so much for being with us today and every day on Weather Out West. Please join us again tomorrow for our next segment.